Take a wild guess. We're gonna have some problems. We're gonna have bigger problems than we already got. Matter of fact, I think somebody made up some illusions and some things about what we needed. I think they made up a thought about y'all needed civil rights. Don't you remember that? Yeah, you got them. So what's everybody complaining about? You understand what I'm saying? See, what I'm trying to get at is this. What is an illusion? You're doing a marvelous thing now, because guess what you're doing now? You actually looking the word up. Now when you look the word up, now you have to know how to break the word apart, because what you're going to learn how to do is to decipher the language. If you know how to break this word apart and decipher this language, how to decode it, you can, matter of fact, see what it is that you're looking for. The word illusion. I think, if I'm not careful, if I'm not wrong, it starts out like this. Wait a minute. It starts out I, L, L, U, isn't it S right here? Keep going. I, O, N. Stop. Funny thing about that L-U-S. You see that S is interchangeable with a what? C. A C. Now further. What is that?
A loose.
A loose. Oh, L-U-C. So that's light. Now, what happens is a lot of people make the mistake of trying to put these two L's together to form a word, and the word becomes ill. Ill is not in the word. The only ill that you see up there is I-L. Now, I-L is actually the same word in Arabic as A-L, as E-L in Hebrew or Spanish, T-H-E in Greek, and now English. I think, as a matter of fact, in Greek you put an O at the end. And all those words, I-L, A-L, E-L. Oh, matter of fact, in French, L-E. All of them are the same exact word. Oh, as a matter of fact, you can just put the L up there and just put this there. And once you understand that you're talking about thee, and you're talking about a loose here, what's the light? This is a suffix. It can be this or this, and it's a state or condition. Now this being God, you mean to tell me that God's light is actually a state or condition? And here's what's weird about that. We all need the power to create illusions for ourselves. We need that power. What you got to be careful about is when someone else has the power to create an illusion for you, and you can't block it.
No filter.
See, when somebody else puts their light into you, their definitions into you, their language into you, their thoughts into you, now they got control. But when you have the power to see the light, the light, the knowledge for yourself, you have the power to control yourself. It's real simple. So you need an illusion. If they're saying we're being disillusioned, and we need to, they're suffering from disillusionment. Well, they must need illusion then. I'm saying you do need a light. But you need the power to create the light. You don't need to accept somebody who comes along, and they've got the power to abracadabra.
So it was black. Then what happens as you follow your train of thought when you said if somebody's projecting their illusion into me, and I begin to try to make that a reality without truing it.
Then you become a Negro. It's real simple. So you made in your Creator's image. So now you've got to figure out who your Creator was in Kentucky.
Oh, Mr. Black.
In Natchez, Mississippi.
Oh, man, you're wrong.
In Angola, Louisiana. Oh, wait a minute, y'all always talk about how y'all were brought here from Africa. But you don't talk about the fact that there was a whole bunch of folks when the British actually put a law in place that said you could not kidnap and transport an African person across the Atlantic Ocean. So all of a sudden, they had some breeding farms up in Kentucky. I visited those farms. Now they raise horses on those farms. I actually went and looked at the records because I wanted to know how many people they were actually breeding.
Man, Mr. Black, I got to say this one right here. I'm looking at disillusion, right? Now it doesn't give you the etymology right here. It says to free from illusion.
That's
then
right.
it has disenchantment, and then the noun it says disillusionment. I go to disillusionment, and it says a disillusioning. Number 2, the fact or state of being disillusioned.
That's right.
So they really playing with you.
But
here.
how about this? Again, other people who have the power to create illusions for you, to put the light into you for you to see. With the light that they put into you, you're going to go where that light is shining. Now, how did they put that light into you? What language do you speak?
And
Who taught you to speak English?
parents and
Snuffy. Snuffy. And Snuffy didn't really know too much about the language. All Snuffy knew was that he had somebody that was going for nonsense. And so he put nonsense in. You know, Snuffy was always drunk. You know Snuffy, don't you? You know, Little Abner and them. You know them hillbillies up there? Remember, he was always drunk. Huh? And he would go in the store and there'd be a bottle up on the shelf, and Snuffy would say, "What's your hair sauce?" And so what do y'all call it now? What?
You were saying something about the breeding farm and the numbers.
See, what I was saying was that once upon a time, people were being kidnapped from what you call the continent of Africa. The British put in a law that said that any ship that was caught or seized with a cargo of kidnapped people on the ship, that the captain would be hung,
it was serious.
that they would kill these people. That was the British law. So they had to stop transporting people to the Western Hemispheres from the African continent. So when this embargo went in, what the people in the United States did that had been buying and selling people, what they did was to start breeding people. Oh, you do know this, right? Well, this is weird. How does everybody talk so much about Africa, they don't know nothing about it?
I can tell you,
But they never talk about the people that got breeded right here.
if you ever looked at the
I'm trying to
movie
figure this out.
Mandingo, you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen Mandingo.
A drum. That's what that movie was about. And the authors, Kyle Onstad and Lance Horner, did meticulous research before they wrote that series of books about breeding farms. That's what they were.
So we need them to do research. But what do we do? Huh?
We always get that.
Ain't that something? But our children need to learn how to do some research so that we can go in and find out what's really going on, what is happening.
They set examples out.
They say what?
What's the better, the guy who did Las Vegas. He actually,
Jiminy Greek.
Jimmy the Greek, he actually said something.
They took him off the head as soon as he said it.
Yeah.
Y'all remember what he said, right?
Yeah. The reason you
You
can
don't
run
remember that was
fast
on TV?
No bread to
What did he say?
because you were bred to be able to do that.
You bring
You know that video was on YouTube. They took it down. They took it off.
Well, trust me, you can find the information.
But it was the truth. He wasn't lying.
Because he spoke this publicly, and because they want to keep this information hidden, they don't want people talking about it, they took him off the air. I didn't have a problem with what he said personally, but I've done the research and I understand what he was talking about. I know he was trying to get involved in all that old silly talk, but what makes y'all think the Greeks are white folks?
In the first place.
In the first place. Because if you go back and you do the research, just like you found, the Irish weren't white people. They were actually identified when this thing first got started back then as the Black Irish. Yeah, that's what they were, the first niggas. That's where the term actually originated in this country toward the Irish. How did it get to actually to be applied to so-called black people? They applied it to themselves. because they actually believed a term that had been created for them. Ain't that something?
You know, the other one was, there was a movie about it I thought was wonderful about the Sicilians. There was a movie with the guy that played an Easy Rider. I'm trying to think, he's dead now.
He played the father.
He played the father, and then they had him in a chair.
That's right. And he was explaining about how Hannibal
Yeah.
had actually gone in and had been there for, was it 27, 28, 29 years?
Yeah.
But when Hannibal actually went into Italy and he went over the Alps, he took no camp followers. That can be proven.
Yeah.
What place did he come out of?
Carthage.
Carthage. But he takes no camp followers.
You better
Not
find out
even-
what a camp follower is.
Not even boys.
What's a camp follower? I don't know if everybody knows what a camp follower is.
All armies used to have camp followers because the women would follow the army because when the army got paid, or the way they got paid was the army would whoop the enemy and take the booty, the prize. And then they would spend with what they had taken with the camp followers. Wow. You follow me? That's how this worked.
I mean, they had,
But in certain cultures,
institutionalized.
the camp followers were boys in some cases. And in this particular case, Hannibal didn't even take any boys. He didn't allow any camp followers. So when he marched across the Alps and came down into Italy and eventually wound up in Sicily, they stayed for over a quarter of a century, but they had not taken any women.
They would kill him because he said.
That's right, he said, that's how the Guineas were created. That's what he said in the movie. That's how the Guineas were created. But Guinea is in Africa. This is weird. You see, the reason they call people in Italy Guineas is because they're dark-skinned people. And then if you go to that place and eat that food, then go right across the Mediterranean and eat the food, you're going to be eating the same food. Now we're looking at something entirely different than what everybody's talking about. But what everybody's talking about is a theory. As if the theory is actually the fact. The theories are not facts. But we need to go in and learn correct information so we can actually show our children something that can give them power. Yes, sir.
On the when we were talking about illusion,
Yes.
what was the light? What was the breakdown of light?
Listen to what the light is. In the word, this part of this word, al, is the word God. This part of this word, lust, is actually loose, is the word light.
Okay.
When you're talking about an image, you are talking about the imago. And God's image is the light. It is the sun. And the sun, if you look in your dictionary, in the back, there's a symbols page. The symbol for the sun is a circle with a black dot in the center. And it means to be aware. So the light of the sun is what actually causes you to have awareness, consciousness. This is what you are calling an illusion. I didn't call it an illusion a mirage, but because the words get mixed up in the language, because on one hand we think the words mean things other than they really mean, and then over a long period of time it gets taken out of context. Now that's why my kids know how to go in, and when they smell a teacher that's lying, they give her an apple and they say, "Teacher, you so nice."
Have a nice day.
Understand?
Right on.
Yeah. So now what we have to do is learn the language. And as we learn the language for real, we know what we're talking about. It don't make no difference if you're talking Ga, Ewe, Fante, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. It makes no difference which language you're talking. You have to understand language. But you can say, well, see, they stole my language. Somebody stole something from you? Best thing I can tell you to do is figure out how to steal it back. You can't steal it back, you got problems, don't you? Yes.
Before we go further, go back. What's the problem with J. Christian murder?
There is no problem with J. Christian Murray. J. Christian Murray is one of the most important people you could ever listen to in your life. But what is very important is that we do not introduce these children to J. Christian Murray until they are ready. If you introduce them before they are ready, you have nuts on your hands. Yeah. Introduce your children to any of this before they are ready, and you got crazy people on your hands. You know how I know that to be true? I just look around me. On the average day, I just look around me and I see what happened. People start introducing concepts that they are not causing anyone to understand. And they got all mixed up, and next thing you know, we got, wait a minute, I was just reading on there about what black men do, they beat their women, is that right? Wasn't I reading that on the internet? About how black men beat on their women? Wasn't that on the internet?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it, huh? So you haven't seen any of the problems that they tell on the internet about black men and black women? Oh, you have seen some of this. Well, how about this one? I beat my children because they my children, and if you don't beat them children, you're gonna spoil them.
You're gonna spoil them.
Didn't I see that?
You see that often. Here,
Sound like
What
you're
the-
associated with the wrong type of people.
So it sound like they what?
Sound like you're associated with the wrong type of
Sound like I'm associated with the wrong kind of people. You mean because I've been hearing people saying that for, I don't know, the last 50-some years, no, 60-some years. I'm associated with the wrong kind of people? You know, I've been trying to suggest to people you don't need to beat your babies. That's what I've been suggesting. I have written books about it. You don't need to beat your babies. It does not say spare the rod, spoil the child, but yet people have been arguing with me about that. So I'm trying to figure out what you mean. I've been associated with the wrong kind of people. I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. Because all I have been, for the last 60-some years, hearing is how you got the right to beat your babies. Haven't you heard that?
all the
You have
time.
heard that? Wow.
You got the right to kill them.
Got the right to do anything you want to do because they're your babies.
Yours, that's right.
You know, I'm wondering what they mean by they mine. You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like the same language that people used to use when they was talking about how they own people. Matter of fact, I'll tell you something else that I know it sounds like to me. Sounds like the same language you use when you're talking about your poodle.
Your dog.
That's right. Same exact language. Matter of fact, I was on the internet just the other day, and the girl, oh, it's so cute. Wasn't talking about the child today. It was talking about the dog. The same language that they had used when they were talking about the picture of the child was the same language they used to talk about the picture of the dog. Y'all didn't see that? Did you know I see that? It was right in front of us all. You know why we don't see it? Because we don't want to see it. Because the minute we start seeing it is the minute we know it's there. Now all of a sudden,